We've seen how being in a season of fear can cause one to operate below their abilities, to a season where communicating with God is so important. And this has led us to the season that carried God's chosen people to the end of the Old Testament and beyond. What season am I talking about? Well, that's coming up next on Higher Learning. So far, we have watched the children of Israel cope with the fear and anguish of their oppressor, to crying out to the Father for help. However, after receiving the deliverance from the Egyptians that had them bound, they feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. After 3 days in the wilderness, they could find no water, but the great provider supplied them with water by showing them how to change bitter water into sweet water. And it is here where the Father, in his divine presence, decided to make a decree and an ordinance for them so to test them. He said, if you diligently heed the voice of the Lord your God and do what is right in his sight, if you give ear to his commandments and keep his statutes, I will put none of the diseases on which I have brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. Yet soon afterwards, the chosen generation would complain about bread. So God provided manna. They would complain about meat. So God provided quail. They would complain about water again. So God brought water from the rock. But then they complain about Moses and is delayed from coming down from the mountain. And they said, come, make us gods, small g gods, that shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man who brought us out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. This began their long season of disobedience. For while they were creating their small g gods, the true and living God wrote, you shall have no other gods before me. And it is this season of disobedience that has plagued the Israelites for generations to follow. But as for us, as believers of Jesus Christ, Israel's season has provided for us what we call in the military an opportunity for an after action review. What we learn from their seasons is how God still provided, how God still protected, and how God still was in their presence despite their disobedience. But we also learn that there will be consequences for disobedience. Because if we follow the Israelites throughout the Old Testament, we see that their disobedience caused 10 tribes to the north to be scattered across the land, dubbing them the lost tribes of Israel, and the 2 tribes to the south to be captive for 70 years, 70 long years. And it is from these lessons that we as believers learn exactly how to respond. Righteousness will be ours if we are careful to follow every one of these commandments before the Lord our God, as He has commanded us. This has not changed. But now the commandment is love your Lord God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and most important command. The second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets depend on these two commands. So let us create a new season as followers of Jesus Christ, a season of righteousness, a season of obedience, a season of love for God and for humankind, presenting our bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God, because this is our true worship. And we do not become conformed to this age, but we are transformed by the renewing of our mind, so that we may discern what is the good, what is pleasing, and what is the perfect will of God. So I leave you with this question. What season will you be in when Jesus returns? My brothers and sisters, be blessed.